So that is where we had completed our discussion. Today, again, what we are going to discuss previous next 2 to 3 slides, sir. How this, when we talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any kind of cryptocurrency, right? How these are being generated. One way is generated, one way to generate Bitcoin or Ethereum or any kind of cryptocurrency in terms of transaction fee, right? In terms of somebody is putting a effort to verify your transaction. Like think about banks, right? Bank or Visa or MasterCard, right? For any kind of transaction, they take a fee, right? Similarly, if you are using ATM, per year different banks charge certain amount of money, maybe 200 or 300 rupees, right? So because we have an account in SBI or ICICI or whichever type of Axis Bank, wherever HDFC, whichever bank we have our account, right? So they charge some amount of money per kind of transactions, kind of let's say giving you a checkbook, giving you access to their ATMs, right? So there are different transactions fees available whenever we have a central party, right? Central authority where we are keeping our money. Think about Bitcoin, block or Ethereum, your XRP or your Cardano or any kind of different kind of cryptocurrencies, right? So there is no central authority. So we as individuals, right, are participating in that blockchain, making transactions, and some of us who are willing to share their hardware, right, either through different mechanisms, whether it is proof of work or proof of stake or whatever kind of mechanism, consensus mechanism we are using, right, we are getting reward for that, right? So that is one way to create cryptocurrency. So imagine the difference or to understand the difference between these two. When I say that I have 500 rupees in my wallet, so that money somehow 5 years, 10 years. So if I see the when the currency note was, that was basically printed by Government of India or Reserve Bank of India, right? So that was the money which was physically printed. If I deposit in my bank, so that will be updated in my account. That okay, Piyush Das have 500 rupees in his account, right? So that is created by some central authority. But when I talk about this cryptocurrency, there is no central authority to create that, right? Once that first block starts, the Genesis block, so that is where the coin-based transaction happens, the first transaction. Let's say in this case, the person who created. Again, there is an interesting story about this person. Nobody knows whether it is a single person or a group of person who created kind of this white paper and which gave rise to this Bitcoin. There are a lot of rumors, like you can say that Nakamoto Satoshi is Japanese known as Central Intelligence. Somebody is telling, but people say that it is actually created by Central Intelligence Agency by America. Then some people say that this is group of companies who have created their research and development group have created this currency. So there is no certainty that who is that person who created this white paper and who created this currency, right? But other whichever next like for Ethereum, this is Vitalik Buterin or Buterin, right? I think he's from Czech Republic or Russia. So for other currencies which has been created, the founders or who are creators are known. Only for Bitcoin, we do not know who created that. But having said that, now the question is who basically formulates or who basically generates those currency, right? So there are two ways to generate currency or create currency. One way of once, let's say today or tomorrow, I want to create a own currency, which will be used by in India, right? So I create a blockchain platform, I write code, I create a blockchain, and I generate few coins in my name, right? So that is the first step. So that is the coin-based transaction. So obviously, first transaction, think about the 2011 or 2009 when the first Bitcoin started, 50 Bitcoin. So if you go to that coin explorer, the first transaction in the Bitcoin is one person is giving himself that 50 Bitcoin. I think for the next 2-3 transactions, it happened like that. So what happens? That person itself created that coin and awarded or rewarded that coin to himself, right? So whoever that person, Satoshi, what is his name? Satoshi Nakamoto, right? So that 50 Bitcoin was the first transaction which happened. Then next onwards, it is not that every time I'll reward myself, right? So what was the rule? The rule of the game is, so any person who is participating in solving that puzzle, verifying the transaction and solving the puzzle or finding that nonce, right? They will be rewarded some Bitcoins, right? So back in 2009 when it started, anytime you are able to solve that puzzle, any person who is able to solve that puzzle, right? Or any group of individuals, right? Obviously, that time 2009, not many people used to use this kind of platform. So those who like kind of initial adopters, right? So they started getting interest about this blockchain platform and started using at least as a hobby or as a fun activity. They started think about how much money they have right now. So initially for each kind of like not each, the number of transactions you verify, and at the end you kind of solve the puzzle. Those miners used to get 50 Bitcoin. So in today's term, I think one Bitcoin is around. Obviously, there is a lot of fluctuations, but at least for the past year, it is on an average one Bitcoin is around 30 lakhs rupees in Indian currency. Multiply 30 into 50, so it is around 15 crore rupees in today's value terms. Obviously, that time 2009, the value was almost zero because nobody used to transact or nobody thought of that. Okay, this will be a valuable asset or valuable currency, right? But the algorithm is designed in such a way that every 4 years, right? So overall, there will be 21 million bitcoins over the years 2036 or 2048. By that time, overall 21 million bitcoin will be generated. That is the maximum limit of bitcoin which can be generated. So each year or each time interval which has been defined at 4 years, right? Some amount of new coins that bitcoins being generated. I'm just talking about the Bitcoin part, right? So what they have done, surprisingly, like the way you see it, in 2009, somebody thought of that okay, at certain point of time the valuation will increase, right? So what they have done, they have gradually started reducing. It is not that they started now. From 2009 onwards, when that coin was created, right? The algorithm was written in such a way that every 4 years, the mining reward which the miners get, right, is getting halved. So that is known as halving, HALVING, halving of kind of the Bitcoin reward, right? So what happened in 2009 to 10, 11, 12, right? Anytime, any day you are solving that puzzle, you are verifying those transactions, those miners used to get 50 Bitcoin. Then it got reduced to half of that, 25 Bitcoin. That means from 2012 onwards, anytime you are solving that puzzle, right? Verifying those transactions, right? You are getting 25 Bitcoin. Right now, I think up to 2024, 2024 or 2023 end, right? Anytime right now, those people who are working or those group of people who are working as miners in Bitcoin or blockchain platform for the Bitcoin, right? So they are getting rewarded as 6.25 Bitcoin. So anytime group of individuals are solving that puzzle, verifying a list of transactions, so as a reward, they're getting 6.25 Bitcoin, right? So that is where that money is coming. That is where the cryptocurrency is coming, right? So that is one way to generate currency, because there is no central authority will tell that, okay, let me print 10 crore or 100 crore or 5 crore rupees worth of 500 rupees or 200 rupee note, right? So there is no central authority, right? So this is where your cryptocurrency comes, right? Or at least for the Bitcoin. Any questions on this? So then there is, I think this slide was not there. I've added recently. I'll send you the updated slide. So this part, this is the only slide which I've changed or which I have included. Uh, why I've included that, to let us understand how these transactions work, right? We have already discussed like how those transactions are getting secured to public and private key. Think about kind of a normal transaction. If I want to buy something from Amazon or Flipkart, right? What happens actually? I have, let's say, 10,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees in my account, right? I want to purchase right now. Big Billion Day is happening, and I want to purchase something, right? In Amazon, let's say the amount of money I have to pay to Amazon is 1,000 rupees. So either Google Pay or Phone Pay or net banking or credit card, right? What happens? I give my password, I give my user ID and password, I provide that CVV number. Then there might be a kind of a additional security where a kind of a some 6 digit or 4 digit code will come to my mobile, and I'll verify that yes, transactions is being done by me. So I'll approve that transaction. So when I say that transaction is happening, what actually happened? That is something called account balancing model, right? So what happens once I approve that transaction in my account in the ledger, which Citibank or HDFC or Yes Bank, wherever I have my account, right? Whichever credit card, debit card, or wherever my Google Pay or Phone Pay is linked. So it will give an instruction to my bank where they'll update saying that, okay, this person has 20,000 rupees on Wednesday, today, so what, 6th or 7th, whichever date it is. You had this on this day, this morning, you had 10,000 rupees of money. He made a transaction to Amazon or Flipkart 2,000 rupees. Now account balance is 18,000 rupees, right? So actually there is no physical transfer of money. It is not that from the bank they're sending physical money to some other bank, right? To Amazon's account, right? It is just that updating, account update, it is happening, right? So that is where normally any transaction throughout the world happening, right? So that is something known as account balance model, right? So all of your financial system is dependent on or basically use that kind of framework. In Bitcoin, at least Ethereum is little bit, Ethereum actually uses account balance model, but in Bitcoin, how it works, Bitcoin and some of the other cryptocurrencies, there is something a concept of unspent transaction output, right? UTXO. What does actually it mean? Let's say I want to, again the same thing, I want to purchase something from Amazon and Amazon is accepting Bitcoin, right? So what I'll do, uh, I have 10,000 rupees, right? I have 10,000 Bitcoin, or obviously 10,000 Bitcoin is a big amount. Let's say I have one Bitcoin in my account. I want to purchase something with zero point 0.1 Bitcoin, right, from Amazon, right? So what will happen in account balance model? What will happen? It will just update my account and update Amazon's account. 0.1 will get reduced from my account and 0.1 will get added to Amazon's whichever account they are using. In other this case, what happens? Once I give my authorize the payment through my private key, I sign out saying that okay, I unlock that, okay, this. So all those one Bitcoin will get opened, right? And it will create two transactions. 0.1 for Amazon and 0.9 again for me. So it might look like a counterintuitive that I'm paying myself, but unspent transaction output works like that. So anytime any transaction happens, right? Anytime I'm sending money or sending money to any other third party or buying, purchasing something, right? So one transaction will give rise to two more transactions. Like, so that is not actually one transaction. Anytime I intend to do any kind of transaction, any payment, right? Actually, it is two transactions. One transaction happens to the person whom I'm sending money, right? Another transaction happens to me saying that this money again get added to my account, right? So here in this case, this person Alice is sending 6 Bitcoin to Bob, right? So in account balance model, what would have happened in her account, right? The bank would have updated 6 minus 6, 10 minus 6 is 4. Then Bob's account plus 4 has been added, right? So that was the simple transaction framework which works in most of the banks, most of the financial organizations. But in Bitcoin, how it was? Once I open this wallet, right? This wallet is no longer not wallet. This transaction, this whatever I am holding 10 Bitcoin, right? So I am using my private key to open it. It is open now. Now my instruction is give 6 Bitcoin to Bob, 6 Bitcoin to next person. So that is one transaction. Then 4 Bitcoin. So that is a change. So that is known as change UTXO, change unspent transaction output. That 4 Bitcoin will come back to me. right? So that is somewhere that how that Bitcoin framework or how that Bitcoin works, right? So it is not that okay, from your account 4 Bitcoin is deducted. At the end, it means same. I have balance 4 Bitcoin, but how does it work? It works through something known as a unspent output transaction output, right? Unspent transaction output UTXO, right? So this is the fundamental concept how your Bitcoin transaction happens. Any question on this? So anytime you are doing like, so similarly, whatever money would have come to you, somebody must have given you some Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency, right? So why it is named as unspent? Because it is logged, right? So with your private key, it is logged now, right? So that is why unspent. Once I spent it, right? So it will create two transactions, one to whomsoever I'm paying money and another to me, right? So that is the meaning or definition of unspent transactions output, right? What else is left? You should always be aware of your keys to open of the lock in your UTXO, not your keys, not your coins. So that is the fundamental thing. So that's why you keep those kind of wallets, right? If you lose that private key, right? So I cannot go to any bank and say that, okay, I have lost my user ID or password. So I'll give you some identifications, reset my user ID and password. In Bitcoin, it won't work. You lost it means lost it. There's no central authority will say, Array, Piyush, yes, did hold 1 Bitcoin or zero point 0.5 Bitcoin or zero point 0.1 Bitcoin at certain point of time. He has lost his private key. So again, reset that. It won't happen like that, right? So if you do not have the private key, you lost your whatever money you have in your cryptocurrency. That is where that security of your private key is so much important, right? Uh, any other question? Let me just read out if I missed something. So that is what I told you. UTXOs are always consumed as a whole, right? So that means whenever I am, though here that person just want to send to 6 Bitcoin, actually 10 Bitcoin goes out of the wallet, right? 6 Bitcoin is sent to some other person, then 4 Bitcoin again comes back. So there are two transactions which is listed, right? So in account balance, what would have happened? It is actually single transaction which is reflecting in others account. But in Bitcoin framework, anytime you are transferring money, purchasing something, two transactions are created. One to the party whom you are sending money, other to yourself. The money is coming back, right? So that is how the transactions work in Bitcoin. Ethereum actually they started with UTXO, but later on moved to account balance model, right? So UTXO model, like we discussed in the previous slide, that is still being used by Bitcoin. Ethereum goes by our traditional method of account balance model, like your credit card or debit card. Some ethers goes from your account, some ethers being added to others' account, right? So that is the simplest financial framework which generally works, right? So Bitcoin, like in comparison, Bitcoin is little bit of more secure than Ethereum, right? Because each time your new transactions are getting created and it is getting validated, right? But in Ethereum, again, it is the age-old system where I spend certain ether, right? I send certain ether to for the that cryptocurrency to some other person. So my account will get updated from 10 ether to 5 ether or 4 ether, whatever money I have spent, right? So that is the fundamental difference of transactions between these two biggest cryptocurrencies. Any questions on this framework? Then something is called initial coin offering, right? Most of the times when companies, let's say company, so what do you mean by company goes public, right? So they list their shares. So right now they ask the public to be the shareholders of the company, right? So that is the meaning of a publicly listed company, right? I have a, let's say tomorrow I create, let's say Zomato recently went public. So before that, it was most of its kind of ownership was with venture capitalists. Around 16 or 15% was with Deepinder Goyal, right, the founder. or less than that, I guess. So that was a private company which was operated on their own terms and conditions. Obviously, you have to follow the rules and regulations of the land, but they are not kind of bound to share. Obviously, they have to share the details with income tax department, but they are not bound to share the company details on their website. They are not bound by the publicly the laws and regulations which is applicable for publicly listed company. Once you go public, so now what we are asking, you are kind of providing the chance to the public to be the shareholders of the company, right? I can buy one share and I can say that, okay, I have the partial ownership of Infosys or TCS, right? So that is how initial public offerings work, right? IPOs. Same concept in ICOs, right? When Bitcoin started, it was nothing like ICO happened. Just people started adopting it. But right now, if you see, there are hundreds of different kind of cryptocurrencies, right? So what happens basically, if I want to generate kind of certain amount of money to develop the certain blockchain platform, right? What I say that I will create something called initial coin offering. So where I will give you people like, let's say you want to participate in that, right? So you will pay money through either through a Bitcoin or Ethereum, existing cryptocurrency, right? Or you might buy different cryptocurrency through US dollar or INR, and you will pay me. So basically, write a company. So how did Zomato got listed? So they said that, okay, for each of these share, there is a price of 80 to 90 rupees or 100 rupees, and you put that you participate, then the public will participate in that offer. So I want to buy 100 shares of Tomato, I'll pay 10,000 or 14,000 rupees. Somebody else will pay some amount of rupees, right, within that price band. Then if the demand is more, they'll give a lottery process, and accordingly, whoever wins that lottery or whoever is selected, they'll be allotted that kind of shares of the Zomato. 100 shares for 12,000 rupees. So 12,000 will be deducted from that company's, so that person's savings account or wherever he is keeping money, and he will be in his demat account. That person will get around 100 shares of Zomato, right? So that is how IPO works. So you are giving that rupee INR 10,000, 12,000 rupees to buy certain ownership of that company. Here, rather than paying in physical money, USD or INR, right? Based upon which blockchain platform that it is getting worked on, right? That person, that creator or that founder of that new cryptocurrency, right? So they might be using Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Stellar, or any kind of existing cryptocurrency, right? So what they'll tell, pay me in that cryptocurrency, and I will give you a token, right? So that means that is kind of a share. If I compare token to a so token in a initial coin offering is similar to a share of a initial public offer in a company, right? So what I'm telling, I'll give you this much token of my whatever new currency I'm going to creating, right? So I'm going to give you 20 token or 50 token. For that, you pay me 10,000 rupees or 30,000 rupees, right? So why a person will buy that? Imagine the scenario if Bitcoin was starting right now, and some of you know the future. Or let's say back in 2009, when you were in school, some of your friends told that, okay, there is some new game somebody is playing, something known as a Bitcoin. So they are only charging 50 rupees. For one Bitcoin, it is 50 rupees. So some of you got interested somehow and you bought 2,500, believing that in future that coin value will be much more than whatever is right now. Whatever. So that's why we buy share, right? That's why we are buying Zomato, MRF, whichever share we have invested in, believing that in future it will have more value, right? Same situation here. When I am buying the token of that uh, coin or token of that founder who is selling me that, right? I am believing that in future that will have much more worth, right? So I am, let's say I pay whatever money, 0.005 Bitcoin, and I get around 100 or 5,000 the amount of some new currency, right? It might happen that the value might get into zero. That means the coin did not survive the market, or it might happen like something like a Bitcoin or Ethereum did. the value will overshoot like anything, and it will have higher value per me. So that is the kind of way how that initial coin offering works, right? The founder or the creator gets the money to build the framework, build the blockchain, build the technical capability to, because it requires a lot of money to hire people to build that, do that coding, build infrastructure around it, right? So that they can develop that currency, develop that cryptocurrency, and for that they are giving you partial ownership, giving you certain tokens. So it is not actually ownership because there is nothing like a company, right? But they are giving you certain tokens which might increase in value in future, right? So that is how this initial coin offering works. Any doubt on this? Any questions regarding this? So Ethereum actually started like that. Right now, I think Ethereum is one Ethereum is running around how much? 2 lakhs or 2.5 lakhs, close to that. One Ethereum. But I think 4 years or 5 years back when it started, that started as the initial coin offering. That person Vitalik bought in, whoever created Ethereum, right? So he created as a project. He asked investor to invest in his in Ethereum project. So create that ERC20 token, right? So he gave that ERC20 token to those investors. So right now that has a huge value. Around one Ethereum is around 2.5 lakhs. I'm not sure at how much. Obviously, it would have been very less amount of money of 5 years back. So that is the growth for the investor. So that is why somebody will invest in that kind of new currency. Obviously, there are many new currencies which started which failed. So there is also many failed cases also. Ethereum is one of the biggest success as a initial coin offering. So then what is the difference between coin and token, right? Coin is basically a physical currency. It is a Bitcoin or Ethereum which we're talking. So basic difference, if you want to understand something, coin is something which have their own blockchain platform, right? So Bitcoin, Ethereum, they work on their own blockchain platform. Token is something which is works on a borrowed blockchain platform. That means they work on top of another blockchain. They do not have their own blockchain system. Right? So there are many tokens or coins, alternate coins like Litecoin, Engine, Rain, which do not have their own. Either they will be derived from Bitcoin or they will be derived from Ethereum. So they'll be working on the Bitcoin platform or Ethereum platform, but they have created their own coin. So they will solve their own purpose. Something which will be used for gaming, right? So there are few coins, few cryptocurrencies which are being tokens, which are being used in certain gaming, which can be used in certain cases to, like in let's say Tesla. Tomorrow Tesla, if they start their own coin, right? So they might be using Bitcoin or Ethereum, but they'll, let's say the name again, that might be a hypothetical name. So let's say they start a coin called Tesla, but they might not create their own blockchain platform for that. They might be using either Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, or any other blockchain platform, but the name is Tesla coin, right? So that itself is a token, right? So they do not have their own inherent blockchain platform. They use a separate blockchain platform, right? Tokens do not operate on their own blockchain. Examples, what else? They are used for payment and signing digital agreement. A token is digital asset. So that is why, like, if you are doing a initial coin offering, you generally give tokens to different investors because you have not created your own cryptocurrency, right? So that is a project which you are working on. So for that, you give tokens to different investors. So that token itself is an alternative coin, right? Altcoin, whatever you call it as, right? So that is the difference between coin and token. The fundamental difference is coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, which have their own blockchain platform. They are known as coins. Those cryptocurrencies who do not have their own blockchain platform, they might be dependent on Bitcoins or Ethereums or Cardano's blockchain platform. They are known as tokens. Okay. I think that is the last slide of cryptocurrency. Any questions on cryptocurrency part? So I have not discussed some other concept like the cryptocurrency valuation, cryptocurrencies, kind of how those kind of transactions happens in your crypto exchanges. because again that is something which is very speculative. I do not want to discuss that and you start investing in there, right? So that is your personal choice. So that is why kind of knowingly I did not cover those concepts. So if you want to understand that independently, you can read about that, how actually people invest in cryptocurrency and how that participate in that cryptocurrency exchanges. So knowingly, I did not cover that because that is something very speculative market. Uh, Price increase like anything, like some of you must have heard about Dogecoin, Cebu coin, right? So prices in one day it will increase by 200, 300 percentage. Some day it will decrease by 3000 percentage, right? So that is something which I did not discuss knowingly. Okay. Apart from that, I hope I have covered fundamental concepts regarding cryptocurrencies. Again, we'll come back to some of them. Mostly Ethereum part we'll discuss because that is something which is fundamentally applicable for smart contract. That are the first platform, first cryptocurrency, which gave rise to applications of smart contracts, which we'll discuss today. But that's about the cryptocurrency part. Any questions before I close this cryptocurrency session? Any questions on cryptocurrency part? Okay, smart contract. As you have done that class exercise, right? It is a very kind of fundamental concept. It's not that it is very new. Earlier, also in most of the cases, right? So there is something called a if, then what, right? If and statement, right? So if this happens, then what? In many companies, in many software that was already being in usage, right? What does smart contract did intelligently, right? Or Ethereum basically, which started this kind of work or this kind of concept brought to the limelight. If think about, I think one group gave that uh, image. I just want to take their example and discuss here. Let's say IPL is going on and you are betting among yourself, right? If Mumbai Indians win, I'll you have to pay me. So let's say I bet with all of you, and if I say one party wins or one team wins, then you have to pay me 100 rupees or 1000 rupees. If the other party with the competitor wins, I'll pay you 1000 rupees, right? So that is how a legal agreement works, right? The bid works. So there is a conditions, if made, payment will be done, right? So generally, if it is physically how it happens, so I'll write in a paper or I'll write whatever the platform it is there. Then say that okay, I agree to pay you 1000 rupees if this team wins on this match, right? The other party also will do the similar agreement, saying that. So let's say land record. So on this particular day, I have this much of land, which is at this location. These are the coordinates. On this day, the land value per decimal, this is the price. Per square feet, this is the price. I am going to sell this 1000 square feet at this amount of money to this person. Then again, the legal details, son of this, resident of this location, address proof, and all those things are required, right? So I go to court, put a legal paper, then that is being on record, right? So that is how the deals happen, right? The other person will be created. But it takes time, right? Because we always go to a central authority where your register office or the municipality office who will have the land records. We go to court to agree upon. We sign in front of a notary advocate saying that this deal is done. So once that person gives me the check or gives me the amount of cash of this much amount of 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs, or whatever amount of money, this possession of this land will be, or title of the land will be transferred to the other person, right? So that is how the traditional contract works. It can be like normal sales contract. Let's say as a company, I want to purchase something, machines from outside India, right? So that is where the purchase order comes into picture, right? I'll tell that okay, these are the equipment or these are the items I require, need to be delivered within 1 month, and this is the price I am willing to pay, right? Once you deliver, once you provide the documentation, I'll pay you this amount of money, right? So that is again a contract. So these are all traditional contracts. Now, when this blockchain system started working, right? So the interesting concept which that person came, the founder or the creator of Ethereum, why can't we use the blockchain? Why can't you use that Ethereum blockchain or any other blockchain to be the fundamental or the to be the kind of a stepping stone where contract can be digitalized, contract can be worked on those platforms. How it will be useful? I think we have already discussed the same thing when we discussed the letter of credit. Earlier, what used to happen? There are several stakeholders. If I want to purchase something from outside India, how it will happen? I will create a letter of credit saying that if I get this document, if I get this kind of proof of delivery, proof of warranty, proof of whatever dispatch, invoices, inspection certificate, all these documents, my bank will release $10,000 or $20,000 total purchase order value to your bank. So that is the letter of credit. But how many people were involved? The person, the importer who is importing certain equipment or items from the foreign country, their bank, then the logistics company, FedEx or DHL, then the bank of the exporter, whoever is exporting that material, then that exporter himself, that finance department of that exporter, then purchase department, warehouse department, lot of stakeholders are involved and lot of physical manual process going on. Even today's world, when we talk about this internet, when you talk about emails also, right? Even then it takes time, right? Your document will come to your email, you will go through that document, you will send to the like kind of parties or the importers email, right? It takes a lot of time, right? To reduce all this process time, to reduce all this complexity, right? Let's say that person is on leave for 3 days or 5 days, though you have submitted all the documents, there is no alternate person, and most of the times it happens if you deliver the items, if documents come on Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, most of the companies have a holiday, it will not work, then the bank will get instruction maybe Monday or Tuesday, right? So to avoid all these kind of delays, if I just implement something called a smart contract. So what do I mean by smart contract? So I'll avoid all those human interactions. Once some agreement has been done, can I convert that into a piece of code? Can I write that as a software program saying that if these conditions are met, then this will happen. That means, let's say in this kind of letter of credit, if I say that once these documents are delivered and these documents have been verified, payment will be released, right? So what will happen? Earlier, what used to happen? Those 4 or 5 individuals from those two banks, those two parties who are importing and the other party is exporting, the FedEx or DHL guy, who is actually logistics company, right? All their involvement will not be there. Obviously, physical involvement will be there when actual kind of equipment is transporting from country A to country B. All those document clearance and all those things will happen. But at least the payment part, once the document being sent to this whatever this other person or the other company and it has been verified, the payment will be automatically released. You are not again giving separate instructions for that, right? So that is how a smart contract works. So imagine a traditional letter of credit, imagine a smart letter of credit. In traditional letter of credit, many stakeholders were involved who will verify in each step, then they will say okay. In smart letter of credit, once you write that software logic saying that okay, once I get this information, the payment will be released, whether it is Saturday night, Sunday night, holiday, that person is not available or that person is taking much more time, these problems won't happen. You get the documents are clear, payment will be done. So it is as simple as that. It is not that it's a very new concept. Earlier also it used to be there, but it never got used in blockchain. So right now what happens, because all your records being kind of, in case all of your records being maintained and updated in blockchain, it becomes easier to implement this kind of smart contracts. Nobody can change it. So in earlier case, what will happen? Let's say you have not actually dispatched that equipment. So we'll put those kind of symbols or will not provide the document. Somebody will be communicating with you. You have not provided that document. he will say, no, I have provided that document, right? Lot of to and fro communication will happen. So check in your email box, it might have gone to a spam folder, or I have sent that document physically to warehouse. Actually, it used to happen because sometimes addresses will be wrong. It will go to your warehouse, it will go to some other addresses, it will not go to the head office, right? So lot of the times delay happens due to this kind of manual involvement. Most of the things can be do away with once you create this kind of software logic taking help of a blockchain. So how blockchain helps you? Because all of your records being kept in blockchain, being verified and being kept in blockchain. So smart contract, what will do, that software, that piece of code will pull all those documents, that okay, whether that has been verified or not. Yes, verified, yes, then release the payment, right? All your document, all your whatever proof has been recorded in the blockchain and getting updated. Nobody can again go back and manually change it. So that is the security part. So that is how a smart contract works. A contract is created between two parties. Both parties remain anonymous. The contract is stored in a public ledger. So that is where your blockchain comes into picture. Some triggering event are set, deadlines, right? Let's say this IPL match. If I win this, though it is illegal to put bet, I guess, till now, but let's say that is I put it in a blockchain and say that okay, if this happens, so what will happen? Automatically, whatever money I have promised, it will be gone from my account and it will be added to your account, right? So there is no manual intervention. I'll not say that okay, no, this is Friday, this is Saturday, my bank is not open. I'll send you the money on Monday or Tuesday, or I might not send you the money. I'll say that no, that was just I was joking with you. Actually, that is no contract, right? So those kind of situations won't happen. But like sometimes in land records, that is a big difficulty. So somebody has promised you that okay, they will buy that or they will sell this land for 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees per square feet, and all this has been agreed upon, and you are going to make a final payment, and then suddenly it tells no, now the price has increased to 2,500 because somebody else has agreed to pay 2,500. So I'll not so though it has been already in court, somebody you have signed, he has signed, you have signed, right? And most of the time that happens in today's world. Lot of contract, though it is agreed upon in front of a court, in front of notary individuals, people will not agree, and that will be a separate case for that, right? In blockchain, if you are putting a smart contract, it is no way you can change that. If you have agreed that okay, I'll pay you or I'll sell this land at a 2,000 rupees per square feet, right? On this particular day. Obviously, the contract will have a time limit. By then, if it is not transactions are not happened, that smart contract will be invalid. So by then, if I made a payment, that land title will be transferred automatically. I cannot go and change that. No, not 2,000 rupees. Change it to 2,500 rupees. I cannot modify the contract right. So that is somewhere your smart contract will avoid this kind of complication or complexity, right? Regulators and users can analyze all the activities. Obviously, if it is a land record, just imagine obviously it will take a lot of effort. It is not as it is as we are discussing. The government, like this point already we have discussed, if I want to implement this kind of smart contract in land kind of deals, right? Lot of clarity, lot of kind of transparency will come into picture. But making that happen is a big deal. Making all the land records digital, having the buy-in from central government, state government, municipality, tahsildars, registry, that okay, they are going to use this kind of platform. That is the most difficult part. But if that can happen, lot of land cases, I think 60% or 50 to 60% of cases in the like Indian judiciary is due to this land conflict. Somebody will go and change the records and say that okay, this was not in his name, this was in my name. Those kind of conflict, lot of effort can be saved, but only problem is that kind of buy-in required from all the parties, all the regulators, right, which is little difficult. So smart contract is a piece of code which can be executed automatically in a deterministic way, right? So I'm putting that logic, right? If this happens, then Next step is this, right? It is all determined. I'm putting a logic behind it. Stored and executed on the blockchain. I need a blockchain for that because records needs to be verified. The records need to be put in the blockchain. The smart contract will call that record and say that whether it is been verified or not. Yes, if it is verified, then make the transaction, right? So that is why you need a blockchain for that. Can call other smart contract also, right? So rather than making a transaction, I can say that okay, if this smart contract like conditions are met, the then next smart contract will work, right? So I can do something like that also, right? So then that is the meaning of can call other smart contract, right? How do smart contract work? So that again, if when if this happens at this point of time, then what happens, right? So that is a simple code in Solidity or whichever Viper or whichever code Ethereum is working on, right? Or Cardano is working on. So you'll write that logic, write that piece of code and make a smart contract. I'll try to show like towards the end of the class. I'll try to show. So what happens in Ethereum? You have to have certain ether to create this kind of smart contract, right? But we'll try to do create some dummy because we don't want to spend that much amount of money. That will be a loss actually. So we'll try to create certain dummy smart contract, right? Not actually where we are going to pay certain ether to create those smart contracts. A network of computers executes the actions. Obviously, that is why that blockchain, right? It is not central authority, central municipality server or land registry server which is going to work. It is again a whichever blockchain platform you are using, right? The blockchain is then operated when the transaction is completed, right? The land title has been moved from this person A to person B. Blockchain gets updated, right? Automated settlement of contract, no third party need. So that is the kind of old definition of blockchain, right? I don't need a central authority to manage all this kind of contract, right? Any kind of contract, whether it is a credit payment transfer, right? Any kind of contract, it can be done through a blockchain. Only thing is that parties, people like you and me should agree upon that, right? So that is the most difficult part. Once that happens, the adoption will be very quick. Problem with the traditional contract, need to have a trusted intermediaries. So land record, that's why you go to a municipality registry office, register office, then to a court, notary, advocate, right? Speed very slow because manual involvement is there. It is very slow, right? You'll go courts are there will be holidays in court. That advocate will take their own time to prepare the document. Then that document will be verified by you, verified by the third party. Then someday physically you have to be present to sign it, right? All these will be very slow processes, right? Cost expensive. Obviously, you have to pay that transaction fee to the uh, court or the notary advocate. You have to buy certain like kind of court paper, whether it is 100 rupees or 500 rupees. Then land record, municipality, land registry office, you have to pay the transaction fees, right? To get those documents, right? Reusability, no. So if I've written that contract, that is valid between you and me, right? That's it. Once it is over, it is over. But smart contract, if I've written a piece of code, I can use it again later on, right? I can so say that like a company is regularly each month they are purchasing, let's say the oil company. So they are purchasing crude oil from the other ONGC. Let's say HPCL or BPCL is purchasing from ONGC certain crude oil, right? So that can be rather than every time you have to send a purchase order, that can be done through a smart contract. So single smart contract can be used multiple times, 12 times in a year. Each month, that smart contract will give raise. Once that is done, that will give raise to the another smart contract, right? So same contract can be utilized multiple of times. But in a purchase order, what happens? If I send a purchase order, next time again I have to create a purchase order, manually sign, again send it, right? So that is the meaning of reusability. Smart contract because it is nothing but a 100 lines or 50 lines of code that can be reused again and again. A lot of fraud happens because account the details can be changed manually, right? I can go back and change the land record. I can pay bribe. A lot of corruptions happen due to that, right? People pay bribe at different offices and change that land record, change the details, right? Which cannot happen in a blockchain. Once the land has recorded in your name, that is your court do not have to go to 100 years, 50 years, 30 years back, looking into different 100,000 pages of document that who owns that land. It can simply look into that date when that smart contract got carried away or got executed, and who is right now the owner. It will be done within 5 or 10 minutes. Imagine the simplicity or the transparency which can be done. Only thing is that the why stakeholders will be involved, because a lot of money, lot of kind of outside money are being put in this kind of deals. So security is one of the important aspect of smart contract. Again, accuracy depends upon how that smart contract has been executed, written, right? Obviously, if somebody does a mistake in coding, it will be inaccurate, right? So accuracy, again, we can debate on that. But as long as that piece of code, because it is the machine, right? Logic, right? As long as you say that if this happens, then that will happen. It will 1,000 times, infinite times, it will be done that way. Manual, sometimes rather than 2 zeros, you can put 3 zeros, right? So that mistakes can happen when you are doing any kind of manual transactions or manual intervention. That won't happen in a logic of whatever you have written in a piece of code. Obviously, it is faster, cost effective, lot of stakeholders involvement will be reduced. So you need not have to pay to court, you need not have to pay to this municipality office. Whatever transaction fee over a blockchain, you pay that and it is done. Trustless, so it is not trustless, doesn't mean that we cannot trust that system. Trustless means there is no central authority whom we are going to believe, whom we are going to trust, right? So trust is now democratized, right? So there will be involvement of 1,000 or 10,000 people who are going to verify those documents, right, in that blockchain, right? So it is not a central intermediary or central authority who is going to whom we are trusting, right? So that is the meaning of trustless. Trustless doesn't mean that we do not trust the system. Interruption free, right? Holidays happen, strikes happen, weekends. There is no interruptions, right? It is a regular process. This happens, logic will work in that way, right? Autonomous. There is no manual intervention. That's why it is autonomous, right? Any questions up to whatever we have discussed so far on this smart contract? So there are many use cases of smart contract, right? It can be used in digital identity. Right now, I think national digital that health ID, right? Indian government is trying to create that health ID for all the individuals, right? I'm not sure how much kind of it is going to work, but it is a good concept because once you have that kind of health ID, if that can be actually processed and can be recorded in a transparent manner, right? All your difficulties, most of the people in bottom of the pyramid find that difficulty, right? Health records are not there, insurance records are not, so most of the times they do not have insurance. Right now, what can be done if you have a health ID that can be directly linked to your whatever prime minister insurance or whichever insurance you have, right? Actually, it might be helpful for the bottom of pyramid people, but again, depends upon whether you are able to really execute on it. So in those kind of systems, actually that know your customer, right? Those kind of systems can be done in a smart contract. If you have these records, you have Aadhaar card, these details, so create this health ID, right? And that health ID, anytime you got admitted to a hospital or claimed insurance, right? All these information will be get recorded into your blockchain and your details will keep getting updated, right? So that is somewhere your lot of kind of challenges happen while processing these insurances, health insurances. So they'll look into your previous health record, whether you have how many times you have applied insurance, whether you have other insurances or not, right? All these problems, all these kind of complexities, uh, time-consuming processes can be avoided if we are able to use a smart contract for that. Actually, PwC along with uh, the like latest report I read about PwC is working actually on this kind of blockchain concept. IIT Madras actually have patented. They have already used the I think the name is Block Truck, Block BLOCK, Truck TRACK. So they have created a blockchain just to like kind of record all the this kind of health associated information, insurance record, your health record, right? So they have created it and they have like gone to patent it. It is still pending with the patent office. Once it gets patented, I think they will try to commercialize it. So the name is BlockTruck. Trade finance, we have already discussed that through letter of credit and all those things can be carried out through your smart contract. Then next four, financial data recording, financial security, financial service, all things related to any kind of transactions, right? You want to take a loan, you want to take a home loan, right? Number of times you have to run to bank, give the document need to be verified, right? You want to take a vehicle loan, you have to run to the dealer, you have to run to the bank, you have to provide your salary slip. So all these things can be avoided. Time consuming processes can be avoided as long as financial record can be updated in the blockchain and there is a smart contract. And you can pull those records from the blockchain, go like kind of if the logic is okay, if the like all the documents are verified, then loan is sanctioned, right? No need of going through 3 or 4 levels of banking officers will check the documents, they'll say okay. So that is a very long or time consuming process. Government, obviously, one of the most important aspect of governance will be this kind of health registry or your kind of a citizen identity registry, right? Supply chain management, we will discuss some of the clinical trial, trading activity, insurance, escrow, motor system. So rather than just going through this statement, let us try to understand one by one. I have given certain use cases. Smart contract for supply chain. Just imagine right now if any material is coming from one location to other, right? How it happens? Factory, it will get manufactured. Those are the outbound logistics. So inbound and outbound logistics, all of you understand it. Inbound logistics, raw material component which comes to the manufacturing plant. Manufacturing plant which goes out, that is outbound logistics. So then it will be transit, then receive, then there will be many RFID systems, global positioning systems, which will be tracking those materials, tracking those components, where exactly your item reached, right? Then those will be transmitted to the different stores, right? Retail stores, different outlets. Then they will be sold. They'll be put into shelf. That is how a FMCG or any kind of supply chain work, right? So it will be manufactured. It will be sent to different warehouses, forwarding agents. From forwarding agents to different stores. In the store, they will be at different shelves, right? And everywhere, those your tracking devices, RFID devices will be there. And accordingly, let's say in retail stores, the kind of there is a shortage of those items or component, they'll send an order to the head office. From head office, it will go to the plant. Then in the plant, manufacturing again will start, right? So that is how the like system, most of the supply chain systems work. So one of the problem is though a lot of automation in last 5 years or 10 years, lot of changes has happened, lot of automations, lot of that Internet of Things or sensors we have utilizing in supply chain. One of the big challenge which has been data is captured in silos, right? If you are selling those whatever product in your retail, Reliance Retail or Big Bazaar, so they will capture in their database, and then again they will send that requirement. Let's say there is a return. Some kind of items were not delivered properly, delivered on time. So then they'll again put that record sent through email, okay, to ITC or to HUL or to PNG that okay, these items did not receive on time. These items were damaged, right? Then again manually somebody will verify whether actually it was damaged, what was the region, right? Even with all the sensors, all the global positioning system, tracking system, right? Need for capture data to be similarly formatted in exact values. You have sent an Excel file, somebody is using SAS or some other code, then again they will put into the other format, right? Lot of, so that is where your JSON files or interoperability files are required, right? Incompatibilities in data and blind spots in tracking goods due to silos in supply chain. Though we have lot of sensors, lot of tracking systems, right? Data is captured in different silos, different groups, right? The communication between those groups is still time consuming, right? Still complex, right? So again, if I just put a smart contract, obviously again, lot of updates of your sensors, RFID equipments are required. Those details again need to be updated into your blockchain. What happens right now that manual interventions will be do away with. Let's say there is a damage of good, right? The party who got received the damaged good, let's say out of 100 quintals of whatever you have sent, 10 quintals are spoiled or has been damaged. So you keep those verification document, update in the blockchain, send those documents. Documents are verified. Then if the documents are verified, then 10 quintals or whatever items again will be resent to the retailer. In earlier case, what used to happen? You will send the proof, images or the videos or whatever records what you have, right? Through somebody in the head office. Head office will send to the plant. Lot of inter-office communications will happen. Then after only 1 month or 1.5 months, you'll get the again the supply of 10 quintal. But by that time, many customers would have come to your store, did not find that product, and they'll go to some different store, right? So these kind of manual interventions can be removed if all the document, because at the end what happens, you need certain document to prove whatever has happened, then accordingly you take a step, right? So at the end, any transaction, it happens like that. Some physical items were delivered, you will get an invoice, you will get that whatever proof of delivery, then you will make a payment. As long as those documents has been verified through a system, blockchain system, and payment can be made, those manual interventions, delays can be do away with, right? So that is where you can use in a supply chain. To just to like kind of little bit of going further in that, how that actually can work. Shipment details confirmed. So let's say in a purchase order, Reliance Retail have a purchase order with HUL, right? Whatever the bill of lading is, will have this kind of information, date and time, delivery instructions, all those logistics information, destination, size, weight, type, all the product details, whatever you are delivering. Shipment details were confirmed. Goods were actually transported from HUL warehouses or forwarding agents. The goods has been transported to like whatever Reliance Retail stores, right? So transportation data from the IoT devices. So exactly what happens. So if you have those sensors in the trucks, in the trailers, right? You exactly know how much time it is taking to get delivered, where actually whether it is getting delivered on the time or not, right? All the details being captured. Demurrage means delay charges, layover where it is actually laying over, locations, short movements of containers rather than the trailer or truck moving. So you can send out those containers which contain all those products, right? How much wait time, right? All these being captured in the like your sensors, and all this sensor data is being sent to your blockchain platform wherever you have that smart contract, right? So what happens? Let's say there is a delay of 3 days, right? What used to happen earlier? Let's say 3 days or 1 week of delay of sending the material or delivering the material. If I have a purchase order and there is a agreement that for each week of delay, HUL have to pay me 1 lakh rupees, because that is the cost, that is the like kind of damage. So that is something known as liquidated damages, right? Because I am making a loss because I have already made payment for those delivery. You did not send those items on time, so I made a loss in my store. So you have to pay me that money, liquidated damages, right? For 1 week of delay, let's say you pay me 1 lakh of rupees. Earlier, what will happen? You will send those documents. That document will be sent to that warehouse department who has sent those material. They'll say yes, actually there was a delay. That will go to their finance department. From finance department, they'll send to their bank, and bank will release the payment. So it will take at least 15 days or 30 days to actual payment to happen. But in this particular case, what will happen? If all these records being maintained in a blockchain and you have put a smart contract, if there is a delay of 3 days or 5 days, this amount of money will be deducted or will be paid back. And it can be agreed upon, obviously before, and those rules, those logic need to be agreed upon. But once you have agreed and put that on a smart contract, write those logic in a piece of code and put that into a blockchain, and all those information being recorded in a blockchain, easily your smart contract can work, right? So that is where you are kind of using smart contract and Internet of Things. Internet of Things are nothing but those smart sensors, right? Which will record all those information. How much time that truck was on movement, where actually it stayed, how much delay actually it happened, right? All those information being recorded in those sensors and being sent to your kind of blockchain, right? Where all the information being recorded. So that is where you can implement this in a supply chain also. Trade finance, I have already discussed letter of credit, so I'll not spend much time here. We have already discussed 2 or 3 times previously. Same scenario, rather than having lot many different stakeholders, 2 or 3 banks, the importers, exporters, the third-party agency, logistics company, right? All the information can be put in a blockchain platform, right? If the conditions are met, payment can be released. Earlier, what used to take 15 to 20 days can be done within a 5 to 7 days, right? So that is the benefit of trade finance or the letter of credit, right? When we are purchasing something from outside our country. Auto insurance, that is again a big task. If you want to do a insurance claim, what happens? You'll give police records or whatever has happened, then photos of those kind of accident where that your car or bike was damaged. Then all those information will be sent to the insurance company. Insurance company will verify. Sometimes they might send, if the amount is huge, they might send somebody to the garage where your vehicle is being repaired. Then they will physically verify that. Then only like it takes at least 20 days, 30 days or 45 days to actual payment to be made, right? So it is a huge long process, right? Same situation, if all the information being captured, rather than sending it to insurance company, you just update through your smartphone, you update in the whatever blockchain platform that insurance company is using, right? And it gets verified, all the information is was being recorded, your previous insurance claim is also maintained in that blockchain. So if the smart contract says yes, these documents have been verified, then release the payment, right? So which used to take maybe 30 days, 45 days, obviously there will be still time, right? uh, but it will get reduced to whatever, maybe 10 days or 5 days. It is not that it will be done in a single day. So it is not that, okay, it is a very kind of a changing like out of this world scenario where it will be done within half a day or 1 day. It will still take time, but it will be half of or 30% of the time which used to be taken earlier, right? So that is where your kind of smart contract can help us, right? Vehicles self-awareness, because right now people like a lot of smart cars are in picture, right? Tesla and all those things, right? All these records can be communicated, right? Whether you are actually above speed record or sorry speed limit or not, right? All these information. Earlier what used to happen, somebody will come and check whether actually that was your fault or it was somebody else's fault. But if it is a smart car with all the sensors and all those information, you need not have to prove anything. All this information is being recorded there in the blockchain. And they can verify that, okay, whether this like kind of it was the car was within speed limit, the all the details, all the like kind of lighting, all the like kind of it was actually properly maintained, right? Braking system was not working. So that was actually a person's fault, because ideally he should maintain the car properly, right? So those kind of information can be gone from the smart car, which are something not obviously fully self-aware, but somewhat self-aware and can be sent to the record keeping system. Increase savings by the reducing duplicated work to verify report and policies. Lot of human interventions, right? Anytime you do a physical check, you send certain insurance agents do those kind of manual activities. Those charges, those kind of work can be avoided, right? So that is where your smart contract can work. Any questions up to this point? Land title record, again, we have discussed it earlier. Rather than having multi-party, right? You can have a notary involvement, mortgage, then settlement agent, then country recorder. In our case, it is municipality or the land registry office, right? So the problem with the current state is, anytime, though it is a court statement, I can go in and change that, okay, no, I don't want to sell the land. Or the person who wanted to buy the land, they'll say that no, I do not want to pay 2,000 rupees. I only can pay 17 or 1800 rupees, right? Those kind of challenges happen. After recording, somebody else will come who like how did you buy that land? That is not actually in his name, that was actually in my name. So go away from my land. Right? Lot of conflict happens due to this land record, right? Capital intensity due to incompatible infrastructure, all of them work in silos, land registry office, municipality, court, right? If you are taking loan from the bank will have their own processes. Inefficient identity verification and signing process of document, physical manual signing and all those things required. Uh, Delay closing escrow is the amount of money you say keep in the bank, right, to purchase the land or purchase the apartment or whichever whatever you are buying. Create potential for document alternation or loss, right? So that is why if records are there, manually somebody can go and change the previous records, right? Multiple parties can be shown in the same property without detection. So I can sell the same land, and lot of perjury happens the same way, right? Same land can be sold to 2 or 3 buyers simultaneously, right? And somebody will take all those money and will go out of this state or go out of that, and he or she herself would not have the owner of that land. So a lot of these problems can be avoided if you have a centralized platform, not say centralized, a blockchain where kind of record you have all the records are being kept there, right? So nobody can change that. Once the land title has been transferred from one person to another, nobody can go back in history, nobody can go back to previous transaction and change that, right? Lot of manual involvement can be reduced. Higher confidence in identity of parties, automated process notifications, reduce land title fraud conveyance, enhance liquidity, right? So money can be transferred as quickly as possible, right? So no cash, no check. Once you meet the, once you pay the money, land title has been changed from this party A to party B, right? So all this, again, it is not that it will be as simple as that. It will still take certain time, but it will be less complex than the existing processes. Smart contract for mortgages. Mortgages means you are keeping like giving your like land or some security, either land, your apartment building, or your vehicle, and taking loan on that, right? So homeowner have a property, there is a bank. So what basically you do on that property, you take certain loan or mortgages, right? You put that land or put that apartment, put that property as a mortgage, right? So again, lot of parties are involved. The bank where you are taking the mortgage, it is not internal revenue service or the income tax department. In our case, it will be income tax department, IRS for the US. Mortgage holder, whoever is taking that mortgage, then insurer, that insurance agency, third party agency who is working there, right? Again, the same thing what happens actually in the land record deal. You might not have the ownership of the property, you might create a fake document, go to the bank, and a lot of bank fraud happens like that, right? You talk about Nirav Modi, you talk about Vijay Mallya, all those. They might not have the actually that much whatever property, right? So they'll create fake property document because bank are very kind of interested in the interest amount, right? So they give this loan or they give this whatever interest based upon the mortgages, and mortgages actually do not have any value. Those are fake document or actually those properties were not there. Those kind of frauds can be avoided if you have all the documents, all the records can be transferred to a blockchain because it is already verified. Some third party agencies have already verified. Again, it is no central authority, right? Because most of the times what happens, you can pay and that scam happened, right? So that Nirav Modi or the other person paid money to the bank officials who are actually in the charge of verifying the document. So they did not, without verifying any document, they sanctioned the loan. Actually, if they have gone through that property document, mortgage document, they have found that actually it is not of that value. That bank is sanctioning 5,000 crores or 10,000 crores of loan amount. But if all the documents, all the records are on a blockchain, all independent people like you and me who are verifying those documents, obviously we'll find that corruption, we'll find that, okay, this property document is not valid. Though in that case, those loans won't be sanctioned. right? So that is again, it can be used on those kind of mortgage system, right? Lot of corruption, lot of in India, in USA, in other countries also, lot of corruption happen, bigger corruptions, right? Where people take loan. So in this kind of fake properties, right? Fake property documents, right? Those can be avoided. Clinical trials, and that is again a one important aspect where blockchain or the smart contract can be utilized. So in clinical trial, what happens if you have taken certain specimen, right, rat or whatever, like either sometimes human trials also happen. Let's say that right now this COVID, due to COVID, lot of vaccines are being in development, right? What happens anytime you are like before this actual implementation happens, there will be animal trial. Once you try those on animals, and if those vaccines or whichever drugs are working properly, you try on humans, right? For that, you need to take consent that yes, we are agreeing to for this kind of vaccine trial on us, right? Whatever side effects, we are agreeing to that, right? All these records are basically independently managed. Each hospital or each those agencies who are developing those vaccines, right? They're independently managing that. All those records are being independently managed, right? So what happens anytime another company want to try to develop similar kind of vaccines, right? They again will start the process. They'll again try to get certain individuals take their consent, right? Again go through the same process again and again. So 3 months to 6 months of the time is lost to just only to review the document, complete these kind of processes. So rather than doing this kind of current processes, what can be done, right? So patient database or the like kind of those volunteers database can be maintained centrally, right? So it is a industry consortium, right? Although hospitals or the vaccine developers, if they create a consortium blockchain where all the development of drugs, all the patient details, all those trial details, right, being kept in that blockchain, right? And anybody, any participant, any company who is, so this will be not a public or a private blockchain. This has to be a consortium blockchain where let's say Cipla, Johnson and Johnson, or those company or Moderna, so those kind of companies who are developing those kind of drugs or vaccines, right, will create a consortium blockchain, right? So all of those their development records can be shared with each other, can be verified independently, and accordingly, so they'll join hand to develop this kind of vaccines, right? Rather than independently working. So this will improve the time it takes to complete the trial, clinical trial, rather than doing again and again, verifying the documents again and again. Increase visibility and reduce cost on streamlining setup process for trials. Improved access to cross-institution data during epidemics, which is happening right now, right? Protected by privacy preserving computation, right? Obviously, like let's say if I have already created or completed the clinical trial, right? If the vaccine is developed, right? That company actually who has done the clinical trial, they might get a larger share of whatever the price agreement, right? So that is something which need to be agreed upon. But what happens due to this kind of epidemic scenario where the main goal is to create a vaccine as quickly as possible? Obviously, there will be competition between each company who is going to create fastest as possible. But if there is a inter company agreement that okay, let us join our hand and try to create vaccines together, right? And whoever party has more kind of involvement or given more to the, like let's say somebody who has put a much more involvement into research and development, right? If the vaccine is priced at the end $5 or $10, $2 or $3 will go to that company, right? Amount of the share of the profit or share of the revenue, maximum share of the revenue will go to the company who has worked more, who has put much more effort in vaccine development. Increased automation in obtaining and tracking consent of shared data access. Otherwise, what happens? Each company, each pharmaceutical company have their own database where they keep the information about the volunteers who are ready for human trials. If it is a central database, the information can be shared across different companies, different pharmaceutical companies. Increase confidence in patient privacy. Obviously, blockchain, that is the one advantage, right? It will be secure. Only patient, if they agree, then the data can be shared, right? So that additional element of security can be included here. Smart contracts in energy sector, mostly it can be used in these kind of apartment buildings, large offices, right? Where the metering, where the energy savings or energy, like sometimes what happens if you do the payment on time, right, or do the payment, advance payment, you get certain bonuses or you get certain money back. Or if you are utilizing less in US and all those Western countries, if you are using your own resource or own solar panel or power plant, right? Sometimes what happens, you can sell it to the government also if you have excess of power, because sometimes what happens, some companies have use of their own power plant, right? So they do not depend on government's energy source, right? So they might have their own coal power plant or a hydro power plant which is powering their own manufacturing processes or other processes, right? If you have excess power, you can sell it to government, right? You can sell it to the grid also, right? So all these purchasing, selling, buying processes of energy can be managed through smart meters. Obviously all the record keeping can be done through blockchain, and payment release, discount, all those things can be managed through your smart contract, right? Rather than doing it manually, sending through, like just think of an example right now. If this whatever we pay our day to day or monthly, whatever our electricity payment, right? On some day we get that on 15th or 16th we get that electricity bill, then we make a payment. We know that regularly that payment has to be made, right? But most of the times we do it, pay it manually. That might be sometimes conflict. Array, I was not there during that 1 month or 2 months of time. Why did I get that much electricity bill? I'll go to that offices, electricity office, will challenge. So lot of issues happen due to that, right? Keep all these records, because sometimes machines do these kind of errors, because but of all these or some of these, right, obviously not all of this can be maintained in a blockchain, but some of these can be transferred on a blockchain, right? And details are in such a way that, or you write a smart contract in such a way that if I pay by this month, I'll get a discount of 10 rupees. If I pay by 5 days early, I'll get a discount of 50 rupees. All this can be put on a smart contract, and as and when that customer is paying the money, accordingly he will get a discount or he might not get a discount if he is making a delay. Or the penalty, if I do a delay, or if I pay after 1 month or 2 months, how much penalty has to be paid, right? So that is still a manual process, right? Without doing that, that can be transferred and can be automated, right? Through a smart contract. If all your information regarding electricity consumption, so that is where your smart meter will come into place in term with a smart contract which will be working on a blockchain, right? So this is actually use case where a company has created a Helios coin. So the payment will be made through that particular coin. So these are basically alternate coins which are very specific purpose, right? Somebody, let's say you want to create a coin for a gaming, particular, let's say right now people are playing PUBG or people are playing those whatever other different kind of games, right? Rise of Nations or all other games, right? I can create a coin which can be utilized in different gaming platforms, right? So this actually Helios coin is basically for in USA they created this for making payment across different energy platforms, right? So payment will be made through this kind of coins because it will be made through a blockchain. So I think that is our last. And any questions up to this point? Okay, so if not, we'll close the session for today. I'll share the slide, go through it, and next class we'll start discussing on the decentralized applications, right? Again, it is an extension of smart contract, but specific application we'll try to understand and work on that. Okay, chalo, take care.